Evil must be punished. In this ominous environment, you would think Washington would be trying to recharge America's commitment to space exploration. In fact, the exact opposite is happening. Right now, NASA is planning to retire the space shuttle in 2010 until its replacement is ready, which is not expected until 2015. The United States will have no way to launch humans into space. During the 5-year time gap, we will have to rely on Russia to get our own scientists and astronauts to the International Space Station. As the world's leader in space technology, it is simply unacceptable that we will be in this position of technological dependency. Our national security depends on our ability to explore space without relying on nations who may not always have our best interests at heart. Thankfully, there is still time to prevent this frightful scenario from becoming a reality. Congress should provide NASA with the added funds it needs to narrow or close the gap in our human spaceflight capability by accelerating Ares and Orion, the shuttle replacement vehicles, providing increased support to potential commercial vehicles, and if necessary, keeping the space shuttle flying longer than 2010. This will ensure that America stays in control of its space destiny. Since NASA was created in 1958, the research that has gone into the space program has also spurred innovations that have greatly improved our lives, from car phones to heart monitors, from ultrasound scanners to laser surgery. Recently, NASA has been implementing my plan to use the U.S. segment of the ISS as a national laboratory, which means that even more breakthroughs can be expected once the lab is fully operational. On September 12th, NASA and the National Institutes of Health signed the first of what is to be several interagency agreements to facilitate ISS research in the future. Alright, so there's obviously a lot more to this, but so I you know, what can I say, man? Like I told you in a previous video, China is going to beat us thanks to Bill and Hillary Clinton, who right now has the lead in the primaries. Bill and Hillary Clinton, who gave our national and military secrets to China, who are traitors to our country, are now in the primary lead and are set to be the next president and vice president again for a third term, which they're not legally allowed to do, I would point out. But yet you stupid Americans out there are voting for them in straw polls to get back into the White House so that they can give more of our secrets to the Chinese and maybe the Russians and maybe some, who knows who they're giving them to. I don't think they even made any money off of it. They just gave it to them. And that is why China now is on the verge of beating us to the moon and possibly to Mars as well. If I get to Mars before I die, I may have to go to China to do it. That is a sin. That is a sin. Well, what is a sin? He that believeth to do good, but doeth it not, to him it is sin. That's a direct quote from Jesus. Jesus told us exactly what a sin is. Boom, there you go. Alright, so we need to stop discussing Rush Limbaugh and what he may or may not have said, and instead appropriating the funds necessary to get NASA supercharged to get us back to the moon and back to Mars before I'm old and gray. Because if we don't, China will. And I'm telling you right now, folks, if China gets back to the moon before we do, they're going to take the helium-3 and leave us with nothing. Well, what is helium-3, Vaughn? Helium-3 is a necessary element for space flights to Mars. Okay? Without the helium-3, we're stuck on the moon, essentially. Because nobody will mass produce the ion engines needed to get us going to Mars on a regular basis, so we're stuck using helium-3, which means if we don't have the helium-3, we're stuck on the moon and we will not get to Mars as fast as the people who do get the helium-3. Okay? I mean, that's just it. And you heard what the NASA guy said. He said America's just going to have to deal with it. Alright? Because they do not have the funds. They probably don't have the staff. I don't know. I don't know. But I know they don't have the funds. So as much as I rip into NASA, I have to admit that at least on the surface it appears that they do not have the funds. No. I don't know where the hell all the money's going, but they don't have the funds. And we do spend more money on pork than we do on NASA. That's the truth. That's the sad truth. But we've got to get serious about this space race. We've got to. Or we're stuck here. Period.